last night, as was I, and you sent out a tweet, which I liked quite a bit. It's a player comp. Keenan Allen versus Sammy Watkins. Keenan Allen, to this point in his career, has played 38 games. Sammy Watkins, 37 games. So basically, we're on par, especially considering that one of Keenan Allen's 38 games was a one-quarter effort last year before he tore his ACL. Keenan Allen targets 221 in those 322 in those 38 games. Sammy Watkins, 276. So he's obviously more heavily targeted, but it's a more pass-happy offense, clearly. 221 receptions to 153 receptions. So that's the big gap. We're talking PPR leagues over the course of their careers, which is effectively 2+ seasons worth of games. There's a big gap there. But yardage, 2,617 for Allen, 2,459 for Watkins. Pretty close, especially considering the number of receptions. Touchdowns. Scotty, who do you think has more through those 37, 38 games?
Sammy Watkins.
Sammy Watkins does. 17 touchdowns to 16 touchdowns. Yards per reception. Who do you think's got that?
I'm going to say Sammy Watkins.
You are right. 16.1 yards per reception.
Bigger play guy.
To 11.8 yards per reception. And then was that yards per target. So Sammy Watkins being targeted downfield deeper as well. Nearly 9 yards per target. Keenan Allen just over 8. So my reaction was that that's a big difference in the number of catches through those games. 70 catches effectively through those 2+ seasons worth of games. But as Matt said, it's only 170 yards difference. And now there seems to be more targets potentially available this year, Scotty. So which guy are you going to target more in drafts? I'll go to Scott first.
I'm going to say Sammy Watkins because Keenan Allen relies heavily on volume. But I believe, there's a lot more diversity in targets now in Los Angeles with the Chargers. If you want Allen for anything, it's because it'll rack up the catchers. I think that Sammy Watkins, when he's healthy, he's not going to only rack up catches, but he's way more of a big play threat purely from a scouting perspective than Keenan Allen. Both these guys are injury prone. I think there might be less target opportunities this year for Allen, whereas there's going to be heavy target opportunities for Watkins, and he could always break a big play at any time, more so than Keenan Allen.
Yeah, I think the reason you made the player comp, I'll let you talk in a sec. The reason you made the player comp, so according to Fantasy Pros right now, their average draft position in PPR leagues, Keenan Allen going 16th, Sammy Watkins going 18th. So that's a toss-up. Brandon Cook's right in the middle there.
Yeah, and for me, I go back to 2015. If you look at Keenan Allen's first 8 games and you look at Sammy Watkins' last 9 games, you're looking at, for me, Watkins, if he stays on that field this year, he is the targets. They have over 200 available targets, 200 plus available targets, and he should be the guy. I mean, who's his competition? Zay Jones, a rookie who I do like, but he's a rookie. Andre Holmes. I mean, it should be Sammy Watkins as long as he's healthy. And this is a guy who can win you a league. This is a guy that has top 5 upside as a wide receiver. We still haven't seen his best. But what you got to see in those last 9 games of 2015 is the possibility of Sammy Watkins. Last 9 games, 900 yards, 7 touchdowns, 78 targets. So, I mean, this is a guy that, look, I understand you're going to be hesitant on. But, I mean, Keenan Allen, as Scott says, he's coming back too now. It's much more crowded in San Diego. Yes,
absolutely.
They do. Yes, they do throw the ball more.
It's not crowded in San Diego at all.
But at Los Angeles. Okay. So, I mean, they do throw the ball much more. It's more of a pass-heavy. I do think they might scale that back a little this year. Not much, but a little with Anthony Lynn coming in, maybe protecting some leads late that they lost last season. But better defense as well. And so I'm going to look at that. I'm going to look at the guy that has this wealth of targets sitting out there, this tremendous talent. And for me, it's Sammy Watkins that I'm going to go. People are going to say I'm a Bills fan, I'm a homer. That's not the case here. I don't care. When it comes to fantasy, if I'm putting money up, I want the guy. I want the best player available, the guy that I think is going to help me win. I'm not dogging Keenan Allen. I just also, for him, like I said, I'm looking at the situation. I'm looking at a guy like Terrell Williams who's stepping up. I know Mike Williams might start on the PUP list, but he's there. Hunter Henry emerging. You still got Antonio Gates living there, hanging around.
Both teams have bell cow running backs, first round worthy running backs in Melvin Gordon and LaShawn McCoy. To Matt's point about the depth chart in San Diego, not only do you have Melvin Gordon, you obviously have a guy that's building a Hall of Fame career in Phillip Rivers. Two tight ends in Antonio Gates and Hunter Henry that have a certain amount of value. People like Henry more than Gates this year, obviously, for obvious reasons. Gates is a year older and constantly injured. And then we have the depth chart. We struggled yesterday, and we're talking on the Fantasy Football Frenzy, of really figuring out how is Mike Williams, this first-round pick, rookie, top 10 pick, how is he really going to slot in? Because he's already injured, and you already have a depth chart that includes Keenan Allen, who's coming back off the ACL. You have Travis Benjamin, who was a big play guy last year. Dontrell Inman, who is like a super waiver wire pickup every year now.
He was kind of one of the most improved players last year, too. I mean,
no doubt.
Devontae Adams was the most improved player in the NFL, but Inman did improve his game a lot, too.
And then Tyrell Williams as well, Scott. So there is a lot more to fight for Keenan Allen, even if he's the lead dog in that receiving corps.
Yeah, it's crowded, though, and you know, there's guys that could play different roles. They're bringing in Mike Williams. I think ideally they would like to have a healthy Keenan Allen as the PPR guy, and for Mike Williams to complement him as more of a big play, red zone, Alshon Jeffrey kind of guy, makes spectacular catches, maybe even a little more talented than Jeffrey, I think. They got different. You got Travis Benjamin. You can whip him out of the slot and send him downfield. We even saw when he was playing with Manziel. You know, that's a guy that you can throw a deep bomb to. This is going to be a very diverse offense, and I think it might drive you crazy from week to week.
Yeah, Mike Williams to me this year is like that stash and cash kind of player. He's a guy maybe he turns into like the Hunter Henry, where he's more valuable in the red zone, catches some touchdowns. Maybe later on in the year, somebody that, you know, right now, I'm not going out of my way to draft, but at some point, maybe if you're in a 20-round draft, you get him later on, you stash him or something like that.
I think Mike Williams is going to be a tough guy to figure out exactly what he's going to do this year. If you're in keeper leagues or dynasty leagues, which are leagues where you keep every single player, I think he's the guy that you absolutely can look to long term. The only thing that I found curious about the strategy from the Chargers is that they backed. This is effectively, in my mind, Keenan Allen insurance.
Well, the other thing too with Keenan Allen,
but they backed up Keenan Allen with a guy has an injury history. He was often injured at Clemson.
That he was. But the thing with Keenan, maybe they scale back his targets a little too, just to keep him fresh throughout the season as well.
Yeah,
because
I think you're right. And Scott, to Matt's point earlier about the depth chart in Buffalo, you know, Zay Jones, he's a rookie, along with Sammy Watkins, Andre Holmes, Philly Brown. You gotta love that signing. Jeremy Butler, Walter Powell. I mean, their first round draft pick they traded out.
I really wish Jeremy Maclin would have been signed.
How did you guys have cap room, right? I know there's a lot of money dedicated to the defense, and Tyrod Taylor's
I believe they could have got
million.
that. They could have got that deal done. You know, I think what the Bills didn't want to do was commit too much guaranteed money on a guy at this point.
I mean, he did visit, right?
Yeah, no, he was there. Shady was trying to really lobby for him to be signed.
They played together in Philly, obviously, a couple of years back. So, Scott, you know, I think you got to, as I said yesterday about a couple of players, you're just going to swallow the risk on both of these guys, frankly, and just take your shot. You might like the fact that Sammy Watkins has a clearer path to the targets, though.
Yeah, Sammy Watkins is, I think it was Matt who made the distinction. It's almost like the Giancarlo Stanton of fantasy football. You know what he's going to do when he's healthy, but you know what, though? Vic Carucci, who has covered that team for years and has been an NFL insider for years, he put some of it on Watkins. He says, you know, he needs to train better in the offseason and take better care of his body.
Yeah, look, you have to. I agree with that. Look, this is a big season for him too, because the Bills didn't pick up that fifth-year option.
They should.
And he's come out recently, the last couple of weeks, saying how his draft class is going to change it for the NFL. They want players to be paid like the NBA. So
don't get me started on that. It's just I get what he's saying, and if these guys want to step up and
put up or shut up, you got a chance. You
want to sit out and you want to hold out. God bless, and I would applaud them for doing it, but there's more players. Like, we can't compare the 53-man rosters to the 15-man
I get that,
roster.
but from where he's coming from, where they have a chance now to, like, guys like him and stuff in that class, they have big years. All these guys want to get paid.
Yeah.